The Hanging Tree. A Forest Horror Story. Prologue. The Rules. There are 3 rules for surviving Blackwood Forest, and everyone in Millbrook knows them by heart. Rule 1*: never enter the forest after sunset. The trails close at dusk for a reason, and it's not because of bears or wolves. Those you can fight. What comes out after dark doesn't fight. It just takes. Rule 2*: if you hear your name called from deep in the trees, don't answer. Don't even acknowledge that you heard it. Whatever's calling knows your name, but it doesn't know you. Not yet. Keep walking. Don't look back. Rule 3*: if you see the hanging tree, leave immediately. Don't approach it. Don't touch it. Don't look up at what might be hanging from its branches. And for God's sake, don't cut anything down. The tree has been there longer than the town. Longer than the state, probably. It stands in a clearing about 3 miles off the main trail, and you can smell it before you see it. Something sweet and rotten, like fruit left out too long in summer heat. Nobody knows how many people have hanged themselves from that tree. The oldest records go back to 1823, but the tree was already infamous then. Settlers avoided it. Native tribes before them had names for it that translated roughly to the place where the dead wait, or the hungry tree, or where spirits eat. The last official count was 47 suicides spanning 200 years. But that's just the ones they found bodies for. There are plenty more who went into Blackwood and never came out. My name is Sarah Blackwood, no relation to the forest, though people like to joke about it. I'm a forest ranger for the Millbrook district. I've worked these woods for 8 years. I know every trail, every landmark, every dangerous ravine and poison oak patch. I know the rules. And last week, I broke all 3 of them in one night. This is what happened. Part 1. The Missing Hikers. The call came in at 4:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in late October. 2 hikers, college kids from the State University, out for a fall foliage hike, hadn't returned to their car. They'd signed in at the ranger station at 10 a.m., said they were taking the Blue Ridge Trail, estimated return time 3 p.m. It was now nearly 5, the sun was starting to set, and their car was still in the parking lot. "I'll do a quick sweep," I told dispatch. "Probably just lost track of time taking pictures. It happens more often than you'd think. People come for the autumn colors, get caught up in the scenery, wander off trail chasing the perfect photo op. Usually they realize they're lost, panic for about 20 minutes, then stumble back onto the trail looking embarrassed. But sunset in late October comes fast. By 5:30, the shadows were already long and deep. By 6, I'd need a flashlight. And I really didn't want to be in Blackwood after dark. I grabbed my pack, first aid kit, radio, GPS, water, emergency blanket, flares, and headed up the Blue Ridge Trail at a jog. The trail was well marked, easy terrain, popular with casual hikers. Nothing dangerous about it, except for the part where it passed within half a mile of the hanging trees clearing. I pushed that thought away. The hikers wouldn't have gone off-trail that far. They'd have stuck to the marked route. They were probably just around the next bend, sitting on a rock and checking their phones, wondering why they had no signal. At the 2-mile mark, I found their first mistake. A granola bar wrapper dropped on the trail. Not in itself alarming, except it was sitting right next to a clearly marked trail junction. Blue Ridge continued to the left. The right fork led to... well, it didn't lead anywhere good. It was an old fire access road, barely maintained, that cut deeper into the forest toward the restricted zone. There was a weathered sign at the junction. Trail closed. No public access. Danger. The hikers had gone right. "Shit," I muttered, pulling out my radio. "Dispatch. This is Ranger Blackwood. Hikers went off the Blue Ridge Trail onto the old fire road. I'm continuing pursuit. Copy that, Sarah. Be advised, sunset in 45 minutes. I knew. I could feel it in the temperature drop, in the quality of the light filtering through the canopy. The forest was preparing for night. I followed the fire road, moving faster now. Called out their names, Jake and Emma, according to the sign-in sheet. No response. Just the usual forest sounds. Wind in the trees, birds settling for evening, the distant rush of the creek. Then, about a quarter-mile down the fire road, I smelled it. Sweet. Rotten. Like overripe fruit. My stomach dropped. No. Not possible. The hanging tree was at least a mile from here, and the smell didn't carry that far. Couldn't carry that far. But I knew that smell. Every ranger in Millbrook knew it. We'd all been warned about it during training, though most of us had never actually encountered it. I pushed through the underbrush, following the smell, and emerged into a small clearing I didn't recognize. Which was strange, because I thought I knew every clearing in this forest. And there, in the center, were Jake and Emma. They were standing perfectly still, facing away from me, looking at something I couldn't see. Their posture was wrong, too rigid, like mannequins positioned by someone who'd never seen how humans actually stand. Jake. Emma. I called out. I'm a forest ranger. Your families are worried. We need to head back. Neither of them moved. I walked closer, hand on my radio. Something was very wrong here. The light in the clearing was strange, dimmer than it should be, even accounting for the setting sun. And the smell was stronger, cloying, making my eyes water. Jake, I said, louder now. Emma, can you hear me? That's when Jake turned his head. Not his body, just his head. Turned it slowly, unnaturally, like an owl, until he was looking directly at me with eyes that reflected no light. Sarah, he said. I hadn't told him my name. Part 2. After dark. I did what my training taught me. I assessed the situation. 2 civilians in potential medical distress. Strange behavior suggesting disorientation, possibly hypothermia or drug-induced psychosis. The smart thing was to call for backup, establish basic aid, keep everyone safe until help arrived. I did none of those things. I ran. Not away from them, toward them. Grabbed Jake's arm, then Emma's, tried to pull them back toward the trail. They didn't resist. They didn't do anything. They were like statues, fixed in place, and I might as well have been trying to move trees. We need to leave, I said urgently. Right now. The sun is setting, and we cannot be here after dark. But she called us, Emma said. Still not moving. Still facing away from me toward whatever was in the trees ahead. She knows our names. She said if we came deeper, she'd show us something beautiful. Rule 2. If you hear your name called from deep in the trees, don't answer. Who called you? I asked, though I already knew. Already felt my skin prickling with the certainty of what was happening. The lady in the tree, Jake said. His voice was dreamy, distant. She's so lonely. She's been waiting so long. She just wants company. I looked past them, into the trees where they were staring, and I saw her. Not clearly. Just a shape in the shadows, hanging from a branch about 20 feet up. She swayed slightly in a wind I couldn't feel, and though I couldn't make out features, I knew she was looking at us. Looking at me specifically. Sarah Blackwood, the shape said. Not out loud. The words just appeared in my head, accompanied by that sweet rot smell intensifying until I could taste it. You know the rules. You've always known the rules. But do you know why they exist? I grabbed Jake and Emma again, harder this time. Move. Now. We're leaving. We can't, Emma said, and she was crying. I could see tears running down her face, but her expression didn't change. She says if we leave, she'll follow. She'll come back with us. She's so tired of being alone. The sun was setting. I could feel it more than see it. The forest darkening, temperature dropping, that quality of light that means you have maybe 10 minutes before night fully settles. I pulled out my flashlight. Bad idea. The beam cut through the shadows, and for just a second, I saw the hanging woman clearly. She'd been dead a long time. Decades, maybe. But she was still moving. Head tilted up, looking at me. Mouth opening and closing like she was trying to form words. Hands reaching down toward us even though her neck was clearly broken. Body twisted in the noose. I turned off the flashlight. "Listen to me," I said to Jake and Emma, forcing my voice to stay calm. "I'm going to count to 3. On 3, you're going to run. You're going to follow me back to the trail, and you're not going to stop, and you're not going to look back. Understand?" "She'll be so angry," Jake whispered. 1. The shape in the tree was closer now. I hadn't seen it move, but it was definitely closer. I could see more details. The rope, frayed and rotten. The clothes, decades out of style. The way its feet twitched, like it was trying to walk on air. 2. "Sarah," Emma said. "What is she?" 3. "Run." I didn't know if they'd follow, but I grabbed them both and pulled, and maybe the command in my voice broke through whatever hold the thing had on them, because suddenly they were moving. Not running, not yet, but stumbling after me as I dragged them back toward the fire road. Behind us, I heard branches cracking. Heavy, deliberate sounds, like something large moving through the canopy. "Don't look back," I said. Rule 2. Never look back. We made it to the fire road. Started running properly now. Emma and Jake finding their coordination, pure adrenaline taking over. I risked one glance back. The clearing where we'd been was empty, but the trees were shaking, all of them, in perfect rhythm, and the smell was following us, getting stronger, and I could hear that voice in my head. "You broke the rules, Sarah. You came into my forest after sunset. Now you're mine to keep." We ran harder. Part 3. The trail that isn't there. The fire road should have led back to the Blue Ridge Trail. Should have taken us straight to the junction where we'd find the marked path back to the ranger station. But after 10 minutes of running, gasping, stumbling in the rapidly failing light, we were still on the fire road, still surrounded by trees that looked exactly the same, still smelling that sweet rot that wouldn't fade, that seemed to be getting stronger with every step. I pulled out my GPS. The screen showed our location clearly. We should be at the junction, right here. But there was no junction, just more road, stretching ahead into darkness that seemed to swallow my flashlight beam. "This isn't right," I said, trying to keep the panic out of my voice. Jake bent over, hands on his knees, breathing hard. His face was pale in the flashlight beam, covered in sweat despite the October chill. "What's happening? Where are we?" "We're lost," Emma said. She wasn't crying anymore. Her voice was flat, empty, like someone who'd already given up. "She has us. She's not letting us leave." "That's not how it works," I said, though I wasn't sure. The rules were clear about what not to do in Blackwood Forest, but nobody ever talked about what happened if you broke them. Nobody who broke them came back to tell the story. That's what we told ourselves, anyway, that people who vanished in Blackwood simply died of exposure or fell into ravines, or got eaten by wildlife. But the rangers knew better. We all knew about the missing persons cases that never quite closed, the search parties that found nothing, the occasional camper who'd report seeing lights deep in the forest, or hearing voices, or smelling that sweet rot smell that had no natural source. We knew. We just didn't talk about it. I pulled out my radio. "Dispatch, this is Ranger Blackwood. I have the missing hikers, but we're experiencing navigation difficulties. Requesting backup and static." Loud, harsh static that resolved into something that might have been words, or might have been wind through dead leaves, or might have been laughter. Then a voice, distorted and broken. "No one, help you, belongs to Forest now." I switched frequencies. Tried again. Same result. Tried the emergency channel. Nothing but that static laughter. "Phone," I said to Jake and Emma. "Try your phones." Jake pulled his out, hands shaking. "No signal. It says no signal, but—" He turned the screen toward me. "Look at the time." The time read 3:47 a.m. But it couldn't be past 7 p.m. at most. We'd only been in the forest for a few hours. Emma checked hers. Same thing. 3:47 a.m. And the date was wrong too. 3 days ahead of the actual date. "Time's not working right," I said, remembering the old stories. The ones rangers told new recruits late at night when the fire was low and the forest pressed close. Stories about time running strange in Blackwood. About people who'd entered for an afternoon hike and come out 3 days later, starving and disoriented, insisting they'd only been walking for an hour. About search parties that spent weeks looking for missing persons only to find them exactly where they'd vanished, as if no time had passed at all. The forest didn't just take people. It took time, bent it, broke it, used it as a weapon against those who broke its rules. "We need to keep moving," I said, forcing authority into my voice. "Find our way back to a landmark we recognize. The creek, or the fire tower, or—" "I'm not going anywhere," Jake said. He'd straightened up, but his eyes were vacant again, reflecting my flashlight beam like an animal's eyes. "She's calling me. Can't you hear her? She's so lonely. She just wants us to come back. She promises it won't hurt. She promises it'll be beautiful." "Jake, don't." But he'd already turned around. Started walking back the way we'd come, back toward that clearing where Emily's corpse hung waiting. I grabbed his arm. "Rule 2, Jake. Don't answer when she calls. That's the most important rule. You answer, you're claiming you heard, and once you claim you heard, she owns that part of you." "But she knows my name," he said, turning to look at me with those lightless eyes. "She knows everything about me. She showed me. She showed me my whole life, Sarah. Every moment. Every choice. Every path I didn't take. Every person I could have been. She can show you too. She can show you what you could have been if you'd made different choices. Don't you want to see? Don't you want to know what you gave up?" "I don't want to see," I said, but even as I said it, I felt the pull, the curiosity, the desire to know what I'd sacrificed, what roads I hadn't taken. I'd become a ranger because my father had been a ranger, because it was expected, because it was safe. But what if I'd gone to art school like I'd wanted? What if I'd moved to the city? What if I'd said yes to Mark instead of breaking up with him? What if? What if? What if? The two most dangerous words in the English language when spoken in Blackwood Forest. "Liar," Jake said and smiled, but it wasn't his smile. It was too wide, too knowing. Everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to know what they gave up, what they could have had. She offers that. She offers everything. Every path you didn't take, she shows you. Every life you could have lived. And then she shows you the peace. The end of choice. The end of regret. You just have to hang for a little while, and then you see everything. He pulled away from me with strength that shouldn't have been possible for someone his size. I'd had defensive training. I was stronger. But he moved like he was being pulled by something much more powerful than muscle and bone. He walked into the trees. I should have let him go. Should have focused on getting Emma out, on saving who I could save. But I'd taken an oath when I became a ranger. Nobody gets left behind in my forest. That's what my father had taught me, what every ranger learned. You might not save them all, but you die trying. I went after him. The trees closed around us immediately, branches forming a canopy so thick that my flashlight beam barely penetrated. Emma was right behind me. I could hear her breathing, feel her hand clutching the back of my jacket like a drowning person clutching a life preserver. "Jake!" I called. "Jake, stop. You're not thinking clearly. Whatever she showed you, it's not real. It's manipulation." His shape was ahead, moving between trees with impossible confidence, never stumbling, never hesitating, like he could see perfectly in the dark, or like something was guiding him, leading him back to the clearing, back to the rope. We followed. What else could we do? The forest changed as we walked. The trees got older, thicker, their bark covered in moss and strange lichens that glowed faintly with their own light. Pale green, sickly, wrong. The smell got stronger, overwhelming, until it felt like I was breathing it instead of air. And I started seeing things in the shadows. Not people. Not animals. Just shapes. Hanging shapes. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, suspended from branches all around us. Some were old, just bones and rotten rope, skeletal hands reaching down. Some were newer, still recognizable as human, clothes intact, faces preserved by something other than natural decomposition. And some were so fresh I could see them still twitching, still moving, still reaching down toward us as we passed. One reached far enough to touch my shoulder. I spun, slashing with my knife, but the hand was already retracting, and I saw the face attached to it, an old man, weathered, with a kind of leathery skin that suggested he'd been a farmer or outdoor worker. His neck was broken, bent at 90 degrees, but his eyes were alive, alert, watching us. "Run," he whispered through blue lips. "Run while you still can. Once you see the tree, the real tree, you won't be able to leave. You'll want to stay. You'll want to hang." "Where is it?" I asked. "Where's the center?" "Ahead. Always ahead. The tree that seeds the grove. The first hanging. The mother of all ropes." His hand reached down again, not threatening, almost pleading. "Tell my daughter I'm sorry. Tell her I didn't mean to leave her." The forest called, and I answered, and I couldn't stop myself. "Tell her." "What's your name?" I asked. "Richard Marsh. Disappeared in 1997. Hung myself from—" he gestured vaguely around. "From one of these. They're all the same tree now. All connected. Roots underground. Branches overhead. One organism wearing the shape of a forest. And we're its fruit." "Oh God," Emma whispered. "Oh God, Sarah, what is this place?" I knew. Every ranger knew, even if we never talked about it. This was the real hanging tree. Not a single tree in a clearing, but a whole grove. An infection spreading through the forest, tree by tree, victim by victim, growing larger with each person who broke the rules. Each hanging body became a new branch. Each suicide fed the root system. The forest was alive in a way that had nothing to do with photosynthesis or ecology. It was conscious, hungry, growing. "Don't look up," I said to Emma. "Don't look at them. Just keep moving. Follow Jake. We get him and we leave." "We can't leave," the old man, Richard Marsh, said sadly. "No one leaves. Not anymore. The grove has grown too large. Its roots stretch for miles. You broke the rules. You're in its stomach now. It'll digest you slowly." "Bullshit," I said. "We're leaving. All of us." But it was hard not to look, because the hanging bodies were calling to us, using voices we recognized. "Sarah," one said in my mother's voice. My mother, dead 5 years now from cancer. "Sarah, baby, I'm so cold. I've been hanging here so long. Help me down. Please. I'm your mother. Don't leave me here." "It's not her," I said through gritted teeth. "It's not Mom." "But what if it is?" Emma said, her voice small and frightened. She'd stopped walking, was staring up at one of the shapes. "What if they're all here? Everyone who ever died in this forest. What if they're trapped, and we could free them?" "You can't free them," I said, grabbing her arm hard enough to bruise. "There's nothing to free. They're dead and gone, and whatever those things are, they're not your loved ones. They're lures. Bait. The forest showing you what you want to see so you'll stay. So you'll hang too." "Emma," another voice called. Younger. Male. Broken with emotion. "Emma, it's your brother. It's Tommy. I'm here. I've been here since the accident. I never left. I'm so scared, Em. Please help me." "Tommy died when he was 8, Emma said, tears streaming down her face. "Car accident. 17 years ago. He can't be here. He can't." "But what if he is?" the voice called. "What if I'm trapped? What if I've been alone all these years, and you could have saved me, but you never came looking?" "Don't listen," I said. But I was listening too, because now I heard my father's voice. My father, who died in these woods 5 years ago, lost on a routine patrol. They'd found his body eventually. Heart attack, they said. Natural causes. But I'd always wondered why he'd been so far off trail, why his face had that expression of peace in death, like he'd finally found something he'd been searching for. "Sarah," his voice called from above. "I'm proud of you, baby girl. You became a ranger like I wanted. You're protecting the forest. But there's more to learn, more to see. Come up here with me. I'll show you what I found. Why I stayed. Dad's dead," I said aloud, to myself as much as to Emma. "He's dead and at peace, and that's not him." "But what if it is?" the voice pressed. "What if I'm not at peace? What if I'm trapped here, waiting for you to find me? You searched for me, remember? 4 weeks. But you never looked up. You never thought to look up. I looked up. Bad idea." My father hung from a branch about 15 feet up. He looked exactly as I remembered him. Ranger uniform, strong hands, kind face. Except for the rope around his neck and the unnatural bend of his spine and the way his feet twitched like he was trying to walk on air. His eyes met mine. "I've been waiting for you," he said, and smiled. "Join me, Sarah. It's beautiful up here. You can see everything. Past, present, future. All of time laid out like a map. And you're never alone. never scared, never uncertain. All the pain of choice is gone. You just float and watch and wait. No, I said, but my voice cracked. No, you're dead. You're gone. I'm here, he said gently. I've always been here. Every time you patrol these woods, I'm watching. Every time you walk the trails, I'm just overhead, waiting for you to look up, waiting for you to join me. It's lonely here without you, baby girl. My hand moved to my throat without conscious thought, feeling for where a rope would sit. Measuring. Emma grabbed my arm. Don't. Sarah, don't. It's not real. It's what you said. It's bait. Don't look at it. But what if it is him? I whispered. What if he's trapped? What if I could? You can't, Emma said firmly. Whatever that thing is, it's not your father. Your father is dead and gone and at peace. That's just something wearing his shape. Don't give it power by believing. She was right. I knew she was right. But God, it was hard. The voice was perfect. The face was perfect. Everything was perfect except for the wrongness of it, the impossible movement, the way time seemed to stretch and compress around the hanging body. I tore my eyes away, looked ahead to where Jake had stopped. He was standing in front of a tree, not the largest, not the oldest, but somehow more present than the others, more real. And hanging from its lowest branch was a woman. She was fresher than most. Couldn't have been dead more than a few days. Still wearing jeans and a hiking jacket. Still had her face, her hair, her features. Just her neck was broken, bent at a horrible angle. And she was smiling. "Hello, Sarah Blackwood," the corpse said. Its mouth didn't move right. The jaw was broken or dislocated, but the voice was clear, feminine, almost sweet. "I've been waiting for you. You and I, we're going to be such good friends." "Who are you?" I asked, though I'd already guessed. I was Emily Carter, missing since last spring. You searched for me, remember? Spent 3 weeks combing these woods. Never found my body. Rangers gave up. My family had a funeral with an empty casket. The corpse's head tilted further, grotesquely far. I'm still here, still waiting. And now I have so many friends, so many people to talk to. It's like a party that never ends. She gestured with one hand, jerky, puppet-like movement, and all the other hanging shapes moved in response. A forest full of corpses, all swaying in unison, all turning to look at us with eyes that reflected no light. I was lonely, Emily/not Emily continued. Hanging here, dying here. It took so long, hours and hours. And I had so much time to think, to understand. The forest had called me here, shown me things, promised me things. And I'd followed and I'd hanged myself thinking it would bring peace. But instead, she smiled wider. Instead, I woke up, still hanging, still dead, but aware, conscious, trapped between, and so alone. "I'm sorry," I said, meaning it. "I'm sorry we didn't find you." "Oh, but you did find me," Emily said. "I remember you walking past. You were so close, 10 feet away. But you didn't look up. Nobody ever looks up. So I hung there, alone, for months, until I realized I don't have to be alone. I can call to others, bring them here, and they can hang with me, forever. A family of the hanged, all connected. All part of the tree. You're doing this," I said. "You're the one calling people into the forest. Not just me. All of us. Every person who dies here joins the family, becomes part of the tree, part of the forest, part of something bigger than themselves. The smile widened, impossibly wide, skin splitting at the corners. It's beautiful, Sarah. You'll see. Once you hang, you'll understand. The peace, the connection. Never alone again. Never uncertain. Never afraid. Just floating and watching and being part of something eternal. I'm not hanging from any fucking tree, I said. You don't have a choice. You broke the rules. You came into my forest after dark. You answered when I called your name. You're mine now. The corpse pointed at Jake. He's already mine. Can't you see? Jake was looking up at the branches with an expression of longing so intense it hurt to watch. His hands were at his throat, feeling, measuring, and I realized with horror that he was trying to figure out how a noose would fit, how tight it needed to be, what angle would snap the neck cleanest. Jake, don't. I started forward. It'll be okay, he said dreamily. She showed me. After the pain stops, it's beautiful. You float. You see everything. Past, present, future. All of time laid out like a map. And you're connected to everyone who's ever died here. Hundreds of people. Maybe thousands. You're never alone. Never afraid. Never uncertain. Every question answered. Every doubt erased. Just peace and connection and floating forever. That's not life, I said. That's death. And death is final. There's no coming back. Who says I want to come back? He found a rope. I don't know where it came from. It just appeared in his hands, already tied in a perfect noose, like the forest had been saving it for him, waiting for this moment. He threw it over a branch. No! I lunged forward, but Emily's corpse was faster, impossibly fast. It dropped from its tree, rope snapping like an umbilical cord, body falling, and caught itself on its hands, spider-like, between me and Jake. Up close, I could see how wrong it was. The eyes weren't human eyes anymore. Too many pupils, arranged in patterns that hurt to look at. The skin was too smooth, too perfect, like a wax figure. And the smell, God, the smell was overwhelming, sweet and rotten and wrong. You can't save him, it said. He's already chosen. The moment he answered my call, he chose. But you can join him. Make it easier. Quick and painless if you choose it yourself. Struggling only makes it worse. I remember. I struggled for so long before I gave in. I pulled out my knife, standard issue, part of every ranger's gear. Sharp, reliable, meant for cutting rope or brush or, in extremes, self-defense. The corpse laughed, a sound like wind through dead leaves. You can't kill what's already dead, Sarah. You know that. You're a smart girl. You've seen enough in these woods to understand how things work here. Normal rules don't apply. Normal weapons don't work. I'm not trying to kill you, I said. I'm trying to cut him down. I dove past the corpse, rolled, came up running, grabbed Jake just as he was fitting the noose around his neck, pulling it tight, his face already going peaceful with the certainty of what he was about to do. I cut the rope with one slash of my blade. Jake screamed. Not pain, rage. Pure rage. He spun on me with eyes that weren't his anymore, eyes that belonged to the forest, and for a second I thought he was going to attack me. Thought I'd have to fight him, hurt him, maybe kill him to save him. You don't understand, he shouted, and his voice was layered, multiple voices overlapping. His own and Emily's and others I didn't recognize. She's offering us peace. She's offering us everything. Every path we didn't take. Every life we could have lived. She shows us and then she lets us go. Why can't you see that? Why can't you? She's offering you death, I said. And I'm not letting that happen. Not on my watch. I grabbed Emma, who'd been standing frozen through all of this, her eyes locked on one of the hanging bodies that must have looked like someone she knew, and pulled both of them away from the clearing, away from the hanging bodies, deeper into the forest, because at this point any direction was better than staying there. Behind us, the corpses were screaming. All of them. Hundreds of voices, overlapping, furious that we'd escaped, that we'd denied the forest its due. And above it all, Emily's voice, clear and cold. You can't run forever, Sarah Blackwood. You broke the rules. The forest always collects its debts. If not tonight, then tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then next week, or next month, or next year. But it will collect. You'll hear me calling in your dreams. You'll see me hanging in your peripheral vision. And one day, you'll come back. They always come back. We ran. Part 4. The Way Out. We ran blindly through the darkness, my flashlight beam bouncing wildly, showing trees and shadows, and sometimes shapes that might have been more hanging bodies or might have been my imagination. Jake was fighting me, trying to break free, crying and screaming about how we'd ruined everything, how he'd been so close to peace. Emma was just running, her hand locked on mine, her breathing ragged with terror. And then, impossibly, we burst out of the trees onto the Blue Ridge Trail. Just like that. 1 second surrounded by the hanging grove, the next on the marked trail with its neat wooden signs and packed dirt path. I pulled out my GPS. It showed us exactly where we should be, 1/2 mile from the ranger station. Like we'd never left the proper trail at all. How? Emma gasped. How did we? I didn't know. Didn't care. Run. Don't stop. Don't look back. We ran down the trail, and for a few blessed minutes I thought we'd actually escaped. That the forest had let us go. That breaking the rules had consequences, sure, but we'd paid them and survived. Then Jake stopped running. Do you hear that? He asked. Jake, keep moving. She's calling me. She's still calling. He turned to look back up the trail. She says I have a choice. I can come back willingly, or she'll make me come back. But either way, I'm hers now. Bullshit, I said. You're not hers. You're alive and you're leaving this forest and... You don't understand, Jake said. His eyes were wet with tears, but his expression was peaceful, resigned. She's shown me. I've seen my future, Sarah. Every possible path. And they all end the same way. In these woods. On that tree. Whether it's tonight or 20 years from now, I always end up here. That's not. Some of us are called, he said quietly. Some of us hear the forest's voice, and we can't unhear it. It's in my head now. Every moment. Every thought. I can't escape it. The only peace is to give in. No. I grabbed his shoulders. You fight it. You push back. You choose to live. I am choosing, Jake said. This is my choice. And before I could stop him, he turned and walked back into the trees. I started after him, but Emma held me back. Let him go. I can't just. He's right, she said. Her voice was hollow. I hear it too. The calling. It's quieter for me, but it's there. And I know that if I went back, it would get louder, until it was all I could hear. She looked at me with eyes that had seen too much. You saved me tonight. Don't waste that by going back for someone who doesn't want to be saved. I wanted to argue. Wanted to say we never leave anyone behind. But I'd seen Jake's eyes. He was already gone. Whatever Emily's corpse had shown him, whatever promises it had made, they'd taken root too deep to cut out. We go, I said. Now. Before the forest changes its mind about letting us leave. We ran. Made it to the ranger station just as the first morning light was breaking. Dispatch had already sent out a search party. We'd been missing for over 12 hours. I didn't remember it being that long. The forest played with time like it played with paths. Part 5. The Aftermath. Jake's body was found 3 days later, hanging from a tree about 2 miles off the Blue Ridge Trail. Not the hanging tree, at least not the one tourists sometimes stumbled across. A different tree. One of the grove's extensions, I suspected. The forest was spreading. The official report said suicide. Mental health crisis triggered by getting lost in the woods. Nothing about corpses that moved. Nothing about voices that called your name. Nothing about the rules. Emma gave a statement that corroborated the official story. She told them Jake had been acting strange, depressed, seemed fixated on death. She'd tried to help him but couldn't. She blamed herself. She didn't mention that she still heard the calling. That every night, in her dreams, Emily's corpse smiled at her and said, "Soon, soon you'll come back to us." I knew because she told me. Came to my office 2 weeks later, looking exhausted. "It's getting louder," she said. "The voice. Some days I can barely hear anything else. And I know, that eventually I'm going to walk into those woods and I'm not going to walk out." "Fight it," I said. "Every day you choose to fight it." "How long can I fight?" She looked at me with those hollow eyes. "Jake fought for 3 days. How long do I have?" I didn't have an answer. She left. I haven't seen her since. Her phone goes to voicemail. Her apartment is empty. I've filed a missing persons report, but I know where she is. She's in Blackwood Forest, hanging from a tree, waiting for the next person who breaks the rules. Epilogue. The new rules. I still work as a ranger, still patrol these woods, but I've made changes to the protocols. The signs at the trailheads are more explicit now. Rule 1. Never enter after sunset. Rule 2. If you hear your name, don't answer. Rule 3. If you see the hanging tree, run. And I've added a 4th rule, one I made myself. Rule 4. If you break the first 3 rules, don't expect to be saved. Some debts can only be paid in full. ****. I tell this to every hiker who signs in. Most laugh. Think I'm playing up the local legend for atmosphere. A few look at me seriously and nod. They know. Or they sense. They're the ones who'll survive. The others. I try not to think about them. The forest is patient. It's been here for thousands of years. It'll be here for thousands more. And it's always hungry. I still hear the calling sometimes. At night, in my dreams, Emily's corpse smiles at me and says my name. "Sarah Blackwood. You broke the rules. You owe a debt. Come back. Come hang with us. It's so beautiful here." I wake up sweating, checking the doors and windows, making sure I'm still in my apartment and not standing at a trailhead with a rope in my hands. Because I know the truth. Breaking the rules doesn't mean immediate death. Sometimes it means a slow infection, a voice that gets louder over months, years, decades, until one day you can't take it anymore and you walk into the forest and you don't walk out. Jake lasted 3 days. Emma lasted 2 weeks. How long will I last? I don't know. But every morning I wake up and choose to live. Choose to fight. Choose to stay away from Blackwood Forest except when I absolutely have to patrol it. And every morning it gets a little bit harder. The forest is patient. It can wait. Last week I trained a new ranger. Young guy, enthusiastic, wanted to make a difference. I taught him the trails, the safety protocols, the emergency procedures. And I taught him the rules. "What happens if you break them?" he asked. I looked at him for a long time, considered lying, considered saying nothing, or "it's just superstition," or "don't worry about it." But he deserved the truth. "If you break the rules," I said, "the forest gets in your head, and it never leaves. It calls to you, shows you things, makes promises, and sooner or later you answer. You go back, and you hang. That's—" He laughed uncomfortably. "That's not real, right? That's just a story to keep tourists from doing stupid things." I rolled up my sleeve, showed him the words that had appeared on my skin 3 nights ago, written in my own handwriting but in my sleep. "Sarah, come home. We're waiting. Asterisk, asterisk." The laughter died in his throat. "The rules exist for a reason," I said. "Follow them, or join the collection." He transferred to a different district the next day. Can't say I blame him. As for me, I'm still here, still fighting, still waking up every morning and choosing not to walk into those woods. But I know how this story ends. I've seen it in my dreams. Emily shows me every night, patient, smiling, showing me my future. I hang from a tree somewhere in Blackwood Forest. Maybe next week. Maybe next year. Maybe when I'm old and tired and the fight finally drains out of me. But I hang. We all hang eventually. The forest is patient. And I broke the rules. The end. Author's note. This story draws on common folklore about suicide trees and places with unusually high rates of suicide, as well as the general concept of forests as liminal spaces where the rules of normal reality don't quite apply. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts, help is available. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 988. Crisis Text Line. Text home to 741741. The forest in this story is fictional, but the need for help is real. Reach out. Stay alive. Fight the voices that tell you otherwise. The rules exist for a reason. Follow them.